Hi friends, thank you for tuning in. It's great to have you here. The title of today's video is how can we learn how to truly quieten the mind? How can we learn how to truly switch off? It's a great question, and it's a question that we can all resonate with. We've all experienced mental noise, panic, overthinking, worry, mental anguish. Any thought that arises within our experience that causes resistance. It's universal. We can all relate to that. But the bigger question is there a way to turn down the mental noise? Is there an off button? So, yes, I'm here to tell you there is. It's a little bit nuanced and it can be semi-difficult to describe, but hopefully this is my job right now with this video, is to explain and articulate it to you in a way where it's digestible and you can go away and feel like you have the tools to switch this off. The reason why this is so important, our lives now are just filled with distraction and overstimulation. And it's overwhelming for our brains, our minds, our nervous system. And it gets to the point where we might come home from work and we just cannot switch off at all. It feels like our nervous system is completely over-revved, and so is our mind. And it feels like our minds have a life of its own. And in a sense, it kind of does. And that's the first insight. The mind is a bit like a river. It's a bit like an ocean. It has an agenda of its own. What is that agenda? It's survival, right? It's trying to keep you here. It's trying to make you survive. Now, what can happen, of course, is if we overuse this, a beautiful engine that we have, this beautiful piece of equipment, this brain, is that it can kind of turn against us. And if it's left unchecked, it starts to work not in our favor. Yes, it might keep us alive, but in terms of our well-being, it's less intelligent. Let's just put it that way. So we have to inform it. We have to tell it, no, we want to be able to turn you off when we need to, right? So how do we do that? Well, first of all, you can't fight it. So this is why it's a little bit tricky. But what you can do is see its nature and see its process. So that's the first step, is to be able to notice the nature of the mind. How does it work? And it's actually really simple, because the mind works in one specific way. Thoughts arise in experience, and they arise and then they pass. So each thought comes up, it's obviously held with a certain charge, and then it disappears. So the key is to just be able, at first, to notice the nature of a thought, the nature of how mind works. It rises, and it rises in a field of consciousness, it just comes up, and then it goes. Becoming aware that that's the nature of thought actually frees you from the thought itself, or it gives you some distance between yourself, or what appears to be yourself, and the thought. So you have a thought about a worry at work, and it just appears in your experience, and then it disappears. And it has a certain amount of time that it appears in your experience before it disappears. So it comes and it goes. So it's the first insight. And everything within life is impermanent, right? So like everything else, it comes and then it goes. So we see a thought arise, and we notice it, that's all we've got to do. And we can also ask our questions, we can also tell ourselves, how long will this thought last? So it appears and it disappears. Now, that's the first thing. And we know that we don't want to fight it, but we can notice it. Now, the problem is, of course, we'll notice it, but we can all admit to ourselves that actually what we're noticing, we don't particularly like, right? I don't know if I like this mind of mine. It's kind of neurotic. And believe it or not, that's actually the nature of the mind for most people. And the reason why is because it's just left unattended to, right? It's not something that we sit down and practice a lot. So the second stage, and this is really where we can fully switch off, is what we've got to do is just take our attention fully away from this mechanism. And what we've got to do is put our attention on something that the mind can't grab a hold of, right? Because if we learn meditation, say we learn how to put our attention on our sensations or on our breath, it works very well for a short period, but it's not the best technique ever to just completely turn off the mind. And the reason why is you're putting your attention onto something that has a physical reality, so the mind can grasp onto it. And if it can grasp onto it, it can create from that. So what we've got to do is put the mind's attention onto something that essentially has no form. So what is that? Well, it's our consciousness, it's our awareness. So obviously, if you think about it, we are aware of our experience, right? That's how all humans or beings relate to reality, is like we're aware of our experience, okay? So the question is, all we've got to do is ask ourselves, what is the nature, or what is it that knows? What is it that knows thought? So if I have a thought about something, like, well, what is it that knows? What's that? We can almost put attention back on ourselves, almost as though we sink into something that is unexplainable. Now, this is often referred to as self-inquiry. So self-inquiry is more nuanced than meditation in a sense, because obviously with meditation we're putting our attention on some form of physical reality, but with self-inquiry we're trying to put our attention on something that has no physical reality, so our consciousness in a sense, or something that is beyond mind and matter. Now, this works so beautifully well in quieting the mind because it just can't latch onto anything. And if we want to truly see how powerful this is, what I recommend you try is lie down before bed. It doesn't have to be, but it can be at any time of the day, to be fair. And just try and become conscious of your awareness. Just try and become aware of what the nature of awareness is. And as I said, it doesn't really have a form. So all you've got to do, right, it's not hard. It's just to ask that question first of all. Okay, so you close your eyes and you're like, what is it that knows my experience? And then you can ask the question, what is it that knows my thoughts? Then what we can do is try and put attention back on itself. We put awareness back on itself to try and become aware of itself. It's tricky because I'm saying it with words, but it's really beyond words. It's the only metaphor I can describe is like a sinking. It's like an ice cube melting. So the ice cube is, I want you to imagine that the mind, as I was talking about earlier, it tries to survive, but it also creates the reality or the lens in which we perceive the world. So what we want to do with self-inquiry, or this form of meditation in a sense, is just allow that ice cube to essentially dissolve, right? And it's just releasing all that tension in our bodies, in our minds, by just trying to see that actually there's something in our experience that goes beyond all mind and matter. Just constantly sinking. Just think, sinking, melting, releasing. Yeah, it just all gets you to that same place. So this technique is the most effective way of truly switching off. That's how you switch off the mind, is questioning where it's kind of coming from. Don't feel frustrated that you might not be able to do this straight away, because as we were talking earlier, the mind has a nature of its own. So we can't just expect to be able to find the off button instantly. But we can see is if we are train ourselves in self-inquiry that we can eventually get to the point where we can just learn how to completely stop thought. It's an ever ongoing practice, but one that is well worth your time. So I hope this video helps. I hope it clears up or points you in the right direction in terms of how to truly switch off. And if you need more clarification on this technique or you want more advice, please feel free to contact me. I hope this video helps you, and I hope you find some mental clarity and some peace in your life. Feel free to like and subscribe also, and I'll see you in the next video.